Good morning. My name is Bruce Firestone. I'm the founder of the Ottawa Senators. I'm a real estate broker with Century 21 Explorer Realty, and I'm a real estate investment and business coach. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the COVID-19 crisis and how you might do some planning to help yourself and your family and your business, and of course your real estate. Let me switch the slides here. I did a little bit of research, and during the Great Depression of the early 1930s, the economic contraction was really significant. Between 1929 and 1933, industrial production in the United States, Germany, and Canada dropped by more than 40%. That's a lot. But China's GDP has dropped an estimated 40% in the first quarter of this year. So instead of taking 3 or 4 years to drop by 40%, it did it in 3 months. I think Canada can expect similar results in the next 3 months, 40% decline in GDP, and it will also take Canada at least 3 months, I think, to get on top of this COVID-19 thing. Having said all of this, I believe that Canada and Canadians are up to the job. Think about what our parents and our grandparents coped with: the Great War, Spanish flu, which killed 25 million people, the Great Depression with 25% unemployment, World War II, the Korean War, and the Cold War. So what are some of the things that as landlords, either commercial or residential landlords, we might be able to do? Well, I've been using since the 1980s on a case-by-case basis a tenant rescue package, and I rescued about 50% of my tenants that way. I would give them a rent reduction, perhaps for 3 months, sometimes for 6 months, and then it would be followed by a period of somewhat higher rents as they try and catch up. And this resulted in a good reputation for the landlord. We got more loyal tenants out of it. They tend to stay longer. And of course, you guys know that tenant churn is really difficult for a landlord. So if you can get your tenants to stay longer, your make-ready costs drop, your vacancies obviously drop, and it's crucial to long-term portfolio profitability. I'd like to give a shout out to a local firm here in Ottawa, where I live, Colonnade Bridgeport. One of my clients, a dentist, she has established a fabulous new practice. I don't know what her fit-up costs are, but about $2 million, I think. And of course, the Ontario Dental Association has ordered all dentists across Ontario to close except for emergencies. And she was very upset about it, but she went to Colonnade and they said full rent deferral until the crisis passes. So big shout out to Colonnade. This on the right hand side is one of my 5 kids. This is my youngest, Jessica, and she and her boyfriend are both servers. Their income is now zero, and encouraged her and many others that I talked to, both young and old, to reach out to Canada and to the provinces for help. Mr. Trudeau, our Prime Minister, has announced an $82 billion economic support package. So it's very important that young people and elders too, all of us reach out to government for help in this time of crisis. Now, having said that, if we're helping our tenants, we also have to help ourselves. So starting today, I think for a lot of people, they're going to have to ask their banks and their lenders if they will agree to mortgage deferrals until the response to the COVID crisis is a success. So balance your risks and reduce your costs too. I don't have to tell you this, it's an obvious thing, but stock up on cash. And maybe one of the ways you can do it, I think Prompt Financial is a Toronto-based company. If you own a home or you own a rental property, they will do loans up to $40,000. Takes about 3 or 4 business days. It's not cheap money. It's 8.99%, and there's some fees too, but it's better than the alternative, I think. Many of you already have home equity lines of credit, but if you don't, companies like Home Trust will do that for you and give you a little bit more of a cash cushion. I really like using mortgage brokers. I have 3 or 4 mortgage brokers that are kind of my go-to people, and I call them my chief financial officers, and they can help you with this kind of financing and refinancing. Obviously, you've got to freeze or reduce spending. I think tax deferrals are probably in the cards for most of us, whether it's federal, provincial, even municipal. I don't think anybody's getting kicked out of their house because, or there'll be no collection action, in my opinion. If you have to defer your tax payments, I think you probably can. And if you can't pay your suppliers, then you should at least do them a courtesy of a phone call and see if you can work something out there. Preserve your cash. Now, people have been asking me, what will the future bring? And the answer is, right now, no one knows. I went back all the way to the start of the Industrial Revolution, trying to find cases where economies have dropped by 40% in 3 months. I couldn't find any. I'm not saying that there aren't any, but certainly this is a very new experience for all of us. Having said that, I think it's time to make our nation and our cities more resilient and self-sufficient. These are pictures I actually took a couple of years ago when I was visiting Portugal. This is a small village called Pinhal, and many of the houses in Pinhal had what's called backyard homesteading. So they were growing fruits, vegetables, nuts, berries, you name it, in their backyard. And of course, in Canada, the United States, we used to do that. You know, you have a cold storage and you pickle things and you provide for yourself. I think people should start to really seriously consider providing for themselves and their families with a backyard homestead. Um, Barcelona recently announced that its intention is to become completely self-sufficient by 2050 in energy, food, waste, textiles, manufactured goods. They're even talking about 3D printing cell phones and medicines. And they're even going to have their own local currency. Now, you might think that's a little bit far out, but we already have cities with their own dollar. You have the Calgary dollar, Salt Spring dollar, the Kawartha loon, and I'm sure there are many others. I think after this crisis passes, I'm going to suggest to the Government of Canada that we give serious consideration to a universal basic income. If we had that in place today, we wouldn't have millions of Canadians running around in a total panic. And I think a UBI, maybe the time has come to look at this for all Canadians. You've heard the expression, God only helps those that help themselves. Well, I think landlords should, if they can, do things like add basement apartments to their buildings, side yard apartments, coach houses. You can see the picture in the top right-hand corner here is a coach house I hope to build in the backyard of my principal residence. Add a workshop, a maker space, a micro suite, a home office, backyard storage sheds. It's part of something that Isabelle Bradbury, an architect in Quebec, calls the FEHAJ movement, F-E-H-A-J, which stands for Every Home a Job. So not only will it make landlords, I think, more successful and more resilient, but it will also make the community more resilient so that people can live and work in one place. I've been doing this for about 6 or 7 years, adding tech packages to both residential and commercial properties. And thank goodness we've got great technology in almost every apartment where now our clients can work from home successfully with good solid tech. I think office buildings are going the way of the dinosaur. I think they're outdated. I don't think in your town or my town or your city or my city, I don't think we should build any more of these unless if you're building an office building that's going to have 500 people working in it, you should have 500 micro suites in that building. That's it. You should be able to live and work in the same space. I'm going to go back to that slide. I transposed two letters, if you can see it there, to create another quote unquote movement, FIJA, which means for every job a home. And that slide, this slide sort of refers to that, for every job a home. The Bank of Canada has cut its overnight rate a couple times, and I think there's more to come. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that this could create over the next 18 months historic buying opportunities for those of you who have some cash. One of my clients worked for the Florida Panthers in South Florida in the last Great Recession, which was called the Great Reset. And he bought not one but two houses for $350,000 each that were listed about a year or two earlier for $875,000. By 2016, they had bounced back to about the original asking price, and he was able to sell one and keep the other, and it was obviously free and clear. So there will be opportunities for all of us with cash to do something like this. One thing that has occurred to me as I live through and hopefully get through with my family the COVID-19 crisis, I think we need to be more humble about human frailties and capabilities, and to treat each other and the planet with more respect and love. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to me. Be well, everybody, and if you need to reach out to me, you can do it. Text me at 613-762-8884, and I'm on my email all the time, bruce.firestone@century21.ca. Thanks again.